Hello one and all, welcome to Seeing Through Glass and welcome to the absolute toy shop that is Aston Martin Bristol. I've been down here before. Actually, I came earlier in the year with Love Cars to film a three-way Aston Martin head-to-head, so you may remember it from that video. If you haven't seen that video, welcome to the ultimate Aston Martin showroom, I think, in the world. They have almost every incredible Aston here you could ever imagine, but the car that I want to focus on today is the Vantage. But no, not the brand new Vantage, the old Vantage, or what has now become the old Vantage. I think an icon of our times, a car that was built for 12 years, has so many iterations, and a car that I very nearly bought twice. It's actually a very little known fact that I very nearly bought an Aston Martin Vantage twice. First off, when I was incredibly young, I was about 18 or 19, and I became obsessed with the idea of getting a V8 Vantage and putting a Herman aftermarket kit. I got so far down the line, I was speaking to Herman and everything, I wanted to get the car sent to them and then me go and pick it up from the factory in Germany and drive it back with the kit. It was going to be dark blue. It was going to be stunning. I'm pretty sure that I didn't go through with it because I didn't have enough money. At the time, I think a V8 Vantage was still around £60,000, something like that. It was very, very unobtainable. I don't know why I thought it was. Anyway, that was the first time I got close to buying a Vantage. The second time was a little bit more realistic and a little bit closer. So just before I ended up in the 4C, I got offered a V8S Vantage, and it kind of triggered my memories of wanting a standard Vantage back when I was about 18 or 19. So I went to see the car, I test drove the car, and I actually put in a bid for the car. I think the guy was asking, again, maybe like 65 grand. It was an early sport shift gearbox, so the gearbox was a bit of a pig, but the car was beautiful, and I think I offered him like 55 because I was being a bit cheeky, and he said no. So it was maybe a missed opportunity, but 2 times in my life that I came very close. And in fact, I could almost say 3, because early this year when I came down to Aston Martin Bristol and got my hands on the manual V12 Vantage, it was a V12 Vantage S manual actually, and it was in this beautiful green colour, I became obsessed. In fact, I called Tony and I said, Tony, I think I want a Vantage, and he tried to talk me out of it, but I was pretty set, started looking to the prices. I thought rather than a V12 S, because they were quite expensive, I could get just a standard V12 manual, but then it wasn't the 7-speed, it was the 6-speed, and I heard it wasn't as racy, and I ended up going off the idea. But yeah, basically 3 times that I've really considered buying one of these cars, because in my mind it is one of the most beautiful shapes that has come out of the automotive industry for the last 20 or 30 years, and I think it will be a future classic. It's almost as iconic in its lines, I think, as a 911. Big shout, I know, and I know a lot of you are going to be a bit hit and miss about these cars, but I love them. Anyway, as I mentioned at the beginning, Aston Martin Bristol has such an incredible array of these cars that I thought we could walk down the line, point out a few of the different examples, what makes them great, what doesn't make them great, which ones I would like, which ones I would go for, before a little bit later taking one out onto the road. Right, I'm going to try and power through this entire line. We've got an N420, this is a manual V8 Roadster. We've then got another manual, but this is a V8 Coupe. We've got a V8 Vantage S. Now this for me, as a sort of road-going car, I think is one of my favourites. I just love the subtle updates, the wheels, the kit. This is... We've then got a V12 Roadster. Obviously the V12, a lot angrier, a lot more powerful, probably the one that most people lust after, I don't know, but for some reason I'm just drawn to the V8. We've got another V8S, we've got a V12. I think the spec of this car is stunning. You've got the carbon bonnet air outtakes. Why do I always call them outtakes? Anyway, you've got these air holes here. We've got this red interior. So I think that, I don't know why, I love that spec, and that's under 100 grand, that car. We've got another V12 here, which is a stunning red colour. It looks almost black, it's so dark, but that's beautiful. We've got another V8S. We've got a GT8 in a very good spec. Now obviously I think most of you will know Shmi 150, proud owner of a GT8. I'm going to be honest, Tim, prefer the spec of this car. I think that looks good. And then right at the end we have a V8S Roadster. So as I say, this does kind of sum up how intense the iterations or the line of the Vantage became by the end. The GT cars, GT8 and GT12, are obviously the sort of slight finale pieces. There's a more important finale piece over there. But the standard V12s, V8, V8Ss, V12Ss, Roadsters, Coupes were all incredible cars and developed over the years. How cool do these cars look? I'm sorry, I freaking love them. This one. Now, whilst I'm mainly here to talk about the previous shape, I can't skip this. I'm down in the workshop here at Aston Martin Bristol, and this is the Vantage 600, one of like 70 or 80 cars in the world, essentially the 177 of its day. This was £250,000 back in the 90s, twin supercharged. It will do 100 miles an hour in second gear. This thing is absolutely mental. It sounds crazy. I love the fact that the interior still looks as luxurious and as comfortable as any Aston, but it's a subtle beast under the hood. Anyway, very cool to see this lurking down in the workshop. That's George, by the way, who's going to be appearing in the video very shortly. Thank you for that, George. He has just uncovered this stunning yellow V12S, V12S Roadster. These two cars are nearly identical, but I need to explain a very important fact, or a few important facts about this one. So yes, V12S Roadster, but both are manual. Absolutely incredible things. This one, however, has basically been upgraded to GT12 spec, including the engine. So this has got a full-on upgrade. It's essentially a V12 or GT12 Roadster almost, but with a manual gearbox, if my focus will work. There it is. This thing must be outrageous. George said it is probably the loudest, or at least one of the loudest cars in their entire showroom or dealership. You've got to think they've got GT12s, GT8s, that crazy Vantage 600 downstairs, and then this thing sitting prettily undercover. What a crazy beast. These two, very special, very rare, probably going to go that way in terms of value. Right, now to round up our sort of tour of Vantages, we've ended up in the perfect place because this is one of the very final V8 Vantages made. This is the AMR. So to kind of like see out the Vantage, the AMR line is the like sort of bespoke custom line. It's got a stripe down the middle. It's got a entirely bespoke interior with slightly different sort of two-tone leather seats. It's got Alcantara dash. A different grille that you usually see on the GT8, different wheels. It's just very special, but this is the sort of sign-off, the goodbye to this shape. What is great is we actually can't take this particular car out on the road, but they did also offer an AMR kit, a sort of aero kit, for the Vantage in its sort of final year, and that is the car that we're now going to take out onto the road to sort of basically see what I missed by not going through and buying the Vantages the 3 times that I considered buying them, but also the sort of, you know, the final iteration, because I've driven, let me think, I've driven the V12 Vantage S manual, incredible. I've driven a Sport Shift 1 V8, and I've driven... Is that it? Anyway, I haven't driven that many, so it'd be great to see what one of the final Vantages after all of the development for 12 years ended up being like. We can now finally introduce George properly to the channel. Wait, thank you so much for having me down. I really appreciate it. Pleasure. Okay, talk me through exactly what this is. So this is an AMR kit on a V8S or a V8?
So this is a V8 Vantage S manual. It's our demonstrator vehicle. I say demonstrator, they stopped making these now, so it's a bit of a lost cause. No, it's a beautiful car. It's one of my personal favourites. It's pure as a driving machine. Okay. It's very, very pure. But what we've done to this car is we put the AMR kit on it, because you can now order the AMR kit for your V8 Vantage.
As a retrofit upgrade? As a retrofit upgrade. I'm now dressed. I think it's a mixture of like Kanye West and a bin man, but it's so cold. It is so freezing. Cold. George is behind the wheel to begin with, because he's just going to take us out of the sort of local vicinity. It's a bit of an industrial estate around here, isn't it? Or sort of a...
Well, it used to be farmland.
Oh, okay.
Dick Lovett bought the farmland many years ago. We developed Porsche, BMW, Mini, Motorrad, and now Aston Martin on the land. There's also some other supercar dealers just over the corner as well.
There's lots of cars around.
Millionaire's Corner, we call it.
Millionaire's Corner.
You've got Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, McLaren, and obviously all of ourselves as well.
There goes a chick here.
All in one spot.
AMR.
That's the AMR, yeah.
Oh, he's one up to us. We're in the AMR kit. Let's start this mean machine up and let's go for a cruise.
Rock and roll.
And it's just such a lovely place to be. That's what I like about the Vantage, is that it still is a sense of occasion. And the thing is, which is kind of crazy, is you can go out there, can't you, and get V8 Sport Shift 1s from 2005 for like 40-ish grand.
Yeah, hand-built car.
Yeah,
you know.
And it still feels special. You still, oh, I got my seat a bit wrong there. You still feel like James Bond, which is, you know, I think the best thing. Right. I have to say now, from the drive seat, having that wing is cool.
Yeah.
But yes, that's the thing which I find so cool, is that kind of at any level, you get the sense of something special and, you know, being very British, but that noise is just so cool. I guess the concern is getting one-upped, because, you know, if you bought a bog standard 40 grand V8 Sport Shift 1 and someone turned up in a V12, you would be like, damn it. The majority of the time you'd be the coolest guy in your village until someone turned up in a V12.
And then you get someone turns up in a V12S.
Yes, you're like, oh, come on. Well, I guess that's the only potential downside.
But it's funny because I've had people that have had V12Ss and gone from V12Ss to V8Ss.
Really?
Because they prefer the balance. Sometimes, you know, they prefer the gearbox in different cars.
Sure.
Some people are V8 people, some people are V12 people. I would never really argue that a V12 is better than a V8. I'd just always say it's different.
This sounds so. I got totally distracted by everything. Just listen. Yeah, these are very cool things, and it's the kind of car I'd want to drive to Scotland and then do the North Coast 500 in.
Loads of people do that because it's it's even as a sports car. This is our sports model, not our GT model.
Sure.
It's still very much GT in character. So
it's very comfortable.
Seats are comfortable. It's got lots of leather. It's got big boot space behind the seats. You can easily do, you know, a whole week, 2 weeks away in Europe in the car. It's not a problem at all.
So this car is a brand new car, right? I mean, this is one of the last.
It was brand new until you came along.
Okay.
And, we put some number plates on it.
Put some number. Where am I turning here?
Turn right here.
Turn right. Yeah. So the thing is, as much as I'm a mega fan of this shape, and as much as I still lust after one, I can see why it needed to be updated, because this is one of the final production cars, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is all beautiful, but the dials, the tachometer, the tech readout, and the infotainment screen does feel old now. Well, I'm pleased to say that my love for this shape of Aston continues, and I think it will long continue. I'm excited about the new car. I'm anticipating that it will be pretty mega, so I'm looking forward to finally experiencing that. But I think there's nothing wrong with these. So huge thanks to Aston Martin Bristol and to George. Give George a wave. George is on Instagram. I'll put his information below, for letting me come down and check out all of their cars and obviously get behind the wheel of one of the very last of this shape of Vantage. Who knows what's to come for Aston over the next couple of years. Lots of exciting things happening. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you subscribe for plenty more videos to come.